Deer hunters or hikers or anyway, you're out in the forest, you're walking through the forest and you hear, the birds are singing and the leaves are leaving and the worms are worming and all all of creation is just doing what all of creation does. And it's teeming with life. And when you walk into that forest, all of a sudden it'll go silent. And the reason the birds stop their singing is because the fear of man takes our song away. Hmm. And we're created to be responding as we were created to do. We're to respond vocally and sing our song. I don't know. You probably know this, but birds, you can go 3 miles down the road and the birds will actually have a different accent. They actually sing. The very same species of bird will sing in a different key if they're inside a city around concrete and around hard surfaces. They sing a different key. Huh. I mean, they will actually modulate because the way their voice comes back to them.
Interesting. Yeah.
So they are these beautifully. What's the word I'm looking for? They're beautifully articulate, but also the way God designed them is so exquisite, on every level. But what happened is back in years ago, there was a fellow named Carlson. I think his name was Dan Carlson. I think his name was. Back during the Korean War, he was in war-torn Korea or in famine land somewhere, wherever he was stationed. He suffered the visual atrocity of seeing, I hate to even say this, but a mother in this war-torn famine land had laid her child down and allowed a military half-track to cripple the child because they knew that if a crippled child, and I experienced the same thing years ago in the early 90s in Russia. So introduced to people that were beggars that would maim a child so that they could make more money. And we forget. We think we're in trouble here because we're out of toilet paper and cornmeal. But there are places that have suffered huge atrocities, and this was one of those. I mean, imagine what it would be like. I'm a grandpa. I'm a daddy. I love children. But can you imagine how dark your world is to take a child to something like that? But anyway, he saw this and he realized that famine was carrying that kind of weight in that culture. And he says, and this young soldier wasn't a scientist or anything, but he was a thinker. And he said he committed his life that day to finding a cure for famine in these lands, And that's what he did. He came back home and he mustered together a bunch of scientists and researchers and found investors and everything and developed a thing called Sonic Bloom. And Sonic Bloom, they named it because it was born out of this scientific research that revealed to these folks. We know that if you play particular tones, sounds, songs, or frequencies, songs, music, Beethoven, Bach, you've heard all those things, people speculating over the years. Play it to your flowers and they'll grow and that kind of thing, Play it to your cows and they'll give chocolate milk. I don't know. But they have all of that research. But this guy really took it to another level, and they came to the places. Let's find out what was going on within the horticulture in the Garden of Eden. That's how deep they got into it. That's when they began to discover things like, does dew appear does it come up out of the ground or does it come down out of the sky? They discovered neither. That it actually dew just becomes when the atmosphere and the earth come in that place of agreement, dew simply becomes. And it's heaven and earth finding agreement in that moment that brings dew to the earth.
Wow.
Interesting. But anyway, through all of that, that's when they discovered that you could play particular tones or sounds or frequencies and cause plant life would actually respond. And that's when they discovered that the songs that the birds sing all across the frequencies in the sound spectrum, those birds are producing not the mating song, not the territorial song, not that, but there's one called a pre-dawn song that just a few milliseconds right before the sun awakens the day, they sing these particular notes that causes the stomata in the plant life to open up and receive the dew and the atmospheric nourishment all the way to the root. And that's how they discovered pre-dawn song. And so they started replicating those sounds and tones and frequencies across, and using these huge tone generators and speakers, firing them into cornfields and into watermelon patches and all this kind of stuff, and discovered 400% increase in the harvest. And they have, and I've got all the documentation somewhere over here. All these big, like watermelons you can't get on a truck. And corn stalks 18 feet tall, people standing on 10-foot ladders to reach the top of corn stalks and all this. And discovered also that you could create 4 harvests in a year rather than 1. And
really?
Famine lands. And then, of course, all of the agri-systems and all the bad guys had to control that situation in some way. But yet, to us, what does it say? Let's get past the politics and all that. When you get past all the politics, that means that there's a song that the birds can sing that awakens the dawn and brings the harvest. So we cannot be those that allow the fear of man to take our songs away. We're right now heading into a season of harvest that it might look like we're in pestilence and disease and pandemics and all these other things that can take our song away. But it's important that we not lose our song, because out of this war-torn, famine world, and the famine is also in the sound mode. Did you know that? Because there's a famine of the hearing of the word of the Lord.
Yeah.
So famine of the hearing, that means we're back in the soundscape. So what song are we going to begin to sing right now that awakens the dawn and awakens the harvest? And Amos 8:11, in that day, Amos 8:11, there's a famine of the hearing of the word of the Lord in the land. But in Amos 9:11, you see that the tabernacle of David ushers in the harvest, because the planter is overtaken by the reaper and the harvester, the thing.
Yeah.
But that's that beautiful picture and scientific reality. I'm not a scientist, and I'm not even an educated man. To me, it's not about education. It's about fascination. And I'm fascinated that we have a God that can do that kind of stuff. And so when I discover it, to me, it's one more hallelujah.
Yeah.
One more reason to sing, one more reason to not allow the things of this world to cause a famine in my hearing.